Hello everyone, the Kentucky Patriot. We had a viewer that made a point on the discussion page. He wasn't really asking a question, he was just stating some facts in his situation by the name of Douglas McCullough. And I asked him if I could use some of his ideas and points to make this video. And in a way, it kind of is different maybe than what we're used to maybe on this channel, but it still encompasses basically what I'd always intended for the channel to be from the very beginning, and that is to help you and to keep your family and friends safe. And your safety is what this channel's always been about or concerns, just maybe give you something to think about. And I want you to know that I don't own a store. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm just a tiny channel. I'm not endorsed by anybody. So anything I tell you, it's not an underlying fact. I'm trying to sell you something or I'm trying to persuade you. All I'm doing is telling you from my experience, from things I've been around, seen, heard, or just trying to give you something to think about to keep you and your family safe. And he was talking about his situation where he lived. I think it was down in the south around the Gulf. And he was talking about, we were talking about protection with our homes, with firearms, but really it's ultimately about keeping your family safe is what we're doing, whether it's firearms or whatever. And what he was talking about is the subject I'm going to mention a little bit about tonight, about prepping, is basically what you can read the comments yourself in the discussion portion of the channel. But he was talking about where he lived in the South. He didn't live far from CSX Railroad. And, anything can happen. And it's not that we think, oh, this, and when we're paranoid, but we got to understand that things can happen. Things can, turn south on us real quick. So, and what he was saying, there was a spill that he had some supplies laid up that he could, what they call bug out, where he could leave with his family, or bug in if you have to stay secure by yourself. And a lot of people think, well, I can do this or I can do that. Well, maybe you can, but you got to understand there's more people to think about than just you, okay? Most of the time, there might be that one person that really doesn't have anybody close to them, but most people have kids. Most people have a husband or a wife or a mom or dad or a grandparent or a nephew or somebody that they care about. And that's ultimately what we're trying to do, is just keep you safe, keep your family safe. And that's what I want to talk about just a little bit, is maybe prepping. And as soon as you say the word prep or prepping or prepper, all of a sudden you get this, well, he thinks he has to have a bomb shelter, and they stereotype you as weird or whatever. And that's certainly not the case at all. But first of all, and some people I think kind of want to prep or want to prepare, but maybe worried about what people will say or will think. But you got to make sure your mindset's right. Your concern should be about your family and keeping them safe and their needs rather than what other people may think, okay? It's good to have a social life, good for you, but your family's most important, so don't let that stop you. And number two, nobody has to know. You don't have to tell everybody what you're doing or what kind of things you have, but something you do need to have is as a source of water. Now, you can go weeks without food. You cannot go weeks without water. And just because you can go weeks without food does not mean your children can or should have to, okay? So make sure you've got water. That's extremely important. Make sure that you have some food. Even if it's not a doomsday type scenario, just what if a Hurricane Katrina happens, and he mentioned about during hurricane season, or what if wildfires and you're quarantined, I don't know, they're just all kinds of things that can happen, and you being prepared is important just for peace of mind. And like we said, we hope and pray none of this ever happens. As we've said in other videos, we don't have a fire alarm hoping we ever get to use it, or we don't carry a concealed weapon hoping we ever get to use it. So this isn't hoping we ever get to use this stuff. This is just something to have in mind. But having some fresh water, being able to clean water. You say, well, I was bullet. Well, you may not have electricity for your stove, so there's a lot of things you need to take into consideration, and food, and how much food, and food that'll keep. Just because you buy canned food at the store, they don't keep forever. So you need to have a renewable supply of food, and as maybe things expire, get you some more. And they've got some even better than MREs now. They've got like these companies that make these foods that are actually good foods, that are nutritious foods that they'll store for 20, 25 years. And you maybe invest in something like that. And a big question I get, and this is one question I don't answer, and I feel it's not that I'm trying to be evasive or anything, but one question I do not answer is how much ammo that I have, or how much ammo I think you should have. And the reason being is no matter what number I say, it doesn't matter what number I say of each round there'll be somebody that says, oh, that's not near enough. You're going to need, and they're going to tell me how much more that I need. And then on the other hand, no matter what number I say, there's people that's going to say, wow, that's just crazy. You don't need that much. That's just being paranoid. So this is what I tell you. Every situation's different. Every person's different. You and your family's best interest is what needs to be at the front of your mind and keeping your family safe. And like Mr. McCullough, well, I live in Kentucky. I don't have hurricane season. So what's best for him may not be what's best for me. And I do want to make that point, because even when I tell you my opinions, now there are things that are facts, and you cannot argue facts. Facts are facts, and they'll always be facts, and facts do not change, okay? But then there's people that have different opinions or different scenarios or different skill levels, okay? So when I made the caliber debate about the 9 and the 40 debate, and that's really what I believe. I'm not saying that you can't defend yourself with a 9mm. I'm not saying that it's not lethal. I'm not saying that at all. But we've all heard the cases of where somebody gets shot with a 9mm and it stops just a small, not even an inch, just tiny, minute amount of distance from a vital organ, that had it went just a little bit farther, it could have neutralized the threat. And that's all I'm saying. And people that would rather have 9mm, and because of the capacity, that's up to you. That's a choice you have to make. But me personally, I honestly feel like concealed carry, the odds of you having somebody on top of you, and because it happens fast, quickly, and you drawing and only getting 1 or 2 shots off, I think the percentage and the likelihood would be far more you only getting 1 or 2 shots when somebody's really close quarters than you having 15 rounds in a gun battle with multiple threats. I'm not saying there's never been a case where 15 or an extra magazine or 30 rounds isn't used, but I think the likelihood of that kind of engagement would be far less than the engagement when somebody is on top of you really quick and you only get 1 or 2 shots off. And that's why I say I would rather have a little more than a 9mm in that kind of confrontation. And on home defense, I talked about the MP5 and the 9mm, and somebody made a comment about the MP5, and they said, yeah, it's a lot better than a handgun because you have an optic and a 30-round magazine. But truthfully, you can get a Glock with an optic, and you can get a Glock with a 33-round magazine, but you still just have a 9mm. That was the point I'm trying to make. And I do understand that if you have MP5 and 9mm, you have a longer barrel, and that will give you some advantage as far as velocity. It'll add to your velocity and make the round a little faster. However, it does not change that 9mm into a 500 Smith & Wesson Magnum. It does not change that 9mm into a 30-06. It's still a 9mm. You understand what I'm saying? And then people say, well, Paul Harrell, who you admire and you look up to, he and his 5 top weapons for home defense, he had we wasn't an MP5, but it's a short barrel 9mm. Do you think then Paul Harrell would be able to defend his home with a short barrel 9mm rifle? I think Paul Harrell would be able to defend his home with those throwing axes. But that does not mean that you can. And I'm not saying that somebody can't defend their home with a 9mm MP5 or a short barrel rifle. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is skill level is taken into consideration. And that was basically the point I was trying to make when I was talking about speed loaders with a revolver. Now, so are you saying that somebody like Jerry Miculek couldn't? Absolutely not. I believe Jerry Miculek could do it just fine. But what I'm telling you, what I was saying is if you don't feel comfortable with the rounds that you are carrying, to just have another gun, because it's so much easier to draw than it is to use a speed loader. Even if you go to the range and you get pretty good with the speed loader, you think you're going pretty fast, you've got to understand the conditions at the range are night and day different than if you really need a speed loader in combat. So if you take that into consideration, what just happened, you've just put 5 or 6 shots down range and the threat is still coming. There's multiple threats. Your life is in immediate danger. It could be dark, it could be raining. As we said before, it could be wintertime. You don't get to pick the day or time. So you expelling all of your rounds and then trying to get a speed loader and then trying to fumble. It could be night after you're in an intense situation, high stress level, and who knows, they could then after the shots have stopped firing, they could then come from behind cover and be charging you, and here they're charging you, you're trying to use a speed loader. Again, I'm not saying that Paul Harrell can't defend his home with a 9mm. I'm not saying that Jerry Miculek can't do a speed loader, but I'm just telling you the average citizen will not train to that skill level to be able to use a speed loader in high stress. Like I said, always, any time I've said this in the video, it's in general. I'm not saying there's people that can't, but in general, men and women do not train to that level to be able to defend their lives in an immediate situation real quickly with a speed loader. I don't feel. Now, if you feel comfortable with it, you think you can, may God bless you. And I hope you can. But that's just an extra risk. And you may get hit in the arm and may not be able to use that speed loader. But if you have that extra revolver on, you can always draw if you need the extra rounds. You know what I mean? So that's why sometimes, I carry a backup gun. And then talking about prepping, this is really all it is. All prepping is just being prepared in the event of something bad happening. You don't want to be in a bad situation and think, oh no, what am I going to do? And panic set in, because if you panic, you will not make good decisions. The reason there are so many people that train and they take these defensive courses and the military trains and police trains, it's because you gain skill and you gain repetition. So when that moment arrives, you don't get the deer in the headlight look and think, what I'm going to do. Your training takes over. And there's a gentleman that was telling me he used to work on the boats for years. And he said he got so sick and tired of them doing this training drill. If the boat had an emergency, they had to. And he said, I got so sick of that drill. He said, but one night the alarm went off, and he said, I was in a dead sleep, and he said, I jumped up, and before I even realized I was awake, I already was on my feet and had my life jacket on. So the repetition paid off when he needed it. Ended up being a false alarm, I think. I don't remember the whole story. It ended up not being nothing, but he said, had it been something major, he was already ready. He said, then he realized, man, that training was important. And again, we hope you never need this, but prepping is something to take into consideration in the event that something could happen, whether, like we said, bug in or bug out. And I can't tell you all the specifics because I don't know your situation. I don't know who all you have in your care. I don't know, where you live, because obviously if you're going to be in cold climates, your bug in or bug out or your prepping would be different than if you live in a drier climate, or in the south where it's humid and hot, or the mountainous areas. There's so many factors taken into consideration. But I will say this: people that worry about preparing, but even in the Bible, when Joseph was sold into slavery, you go in and read all of it. Pharaoh had a dream, and he interpreted that there would be 7 years of lean, just great, just booming, so to speak. The crops was great, the life, everything was just wonderful. So in those years, Joseph told Pharaoh that God had revealed to him to store up in those years. So they stored up in the 7 good years. Well, then after that, they had 7 lean years. So guess what? Not only did Joseph benefit from storing up, but so did the Egyptian and the people, even his own people, and everybody got a benefit because somebody took the time to say, hey, we need to prepare for this. This could possibly happen. Even Noah, the Bible said he believed God, moved with fear, and prepared an ark. Because he, and we're not saying that bad things are going to happen, and we hope and pray that they don't. I wish every one of my viewers, I mean it from the bottom of my heart, I wish you peace and prosperity. Wish you the very best. And I hope you never have a home invasion. I hope you never have a house fire. I hope you never have like he said, a tanker CSX, a chemical leak. I hope none of the wildfires. I hope none of these things ever come to your door or happen to you. But in the event that they would, I just think it's just wisdom. I think it's just common sense. And I think it's just good practice to say, whether any of these situations arrive, hey, we've got a plan. We've got food, we've got water, we've got means to defend ourselves. And again, just because I say something on here, this is just in general. I'm not trying to dictate your life, tell you every move to make. I'm just throwing out some ideas and some personal experiences that I hope will help you. And if you're doing some of these things, it may reinforce what you're doing. Or if you're not doing some of these things, maybe it says, you know what, that is something I didn't think about, or maybe I didn't see. And I don't ever want to come off as a know-it-all or a big feeling or arrogant, nothing like that. Please, I hope nobody takes me that way, because I still learn every day. There'll be people that'll do something a certain way, and I'll say, well, why do you do that? And they'll tell me, I never thought of that. That is a great idea. And some of the viewers helped me on the importance of consistent carry. When I drew my firearm that time on those individuals, they told me I should have called the law anyway, because they were telling me that those guys could have called the law and say that I was the perpetrator, and it'd been my word against theirs, and that was a good point. I'd never thought of that. So if you ever have to pull your firearm, even if the suspect flees, it's always best to call the law and report it and tell them what happened, and I failed to do so. So I believe we can all learn from one another, glean from one another, and again, if you think the MP5 works for you, hey, you can defend your home successfully, more power to you. I'm not coming after you. Same thing with a revolver. I know there's just revolver guys, and like I said, I'm not knocking you if you have a speed loader and you are a revolver guy that carries all the time. All I'm telling you is make sure you train enough to where if things go south, you can do that effectively, because we got to understand the choices we make and what we do. It not only affects us, but it affects those around us and those that we love. So we want to think clearly, we want to think soberly, and like I said, Joseph there in Egypt's land, not only did it affected him, but boy, he was able to help others. And basically that's what we hope we can do with this channel. Just help others, just give you some words of encouragement, just give you a little bit of tips, just a little bit of things that's happened to us, knowledge. Hopefully you can glean from it. Hopefully this will help you. But I was so glad that Douglas McCullough stated that, and I asked him if I could use this, and he said that would be fine, because I did get this idea from him about prepping, because I had thought about prepping before and how to come off and how to mention it, because it's a subject that is kind of different for everybody. It's hard to just say this is the rules, this is what you need to do, because everybody's situation is different. But I would say be prepared. I would say train. I would say do your best, enjoy life, live life, protect the ones you love, be good to the ones you love, care for the ones you love, and I hope you have a wonderful year. It's been beautiful weather here. I thank the Lord we've already got to get out, enjoy the great outdoors, do some fishing and hiking. So live life to its fullest, and again, hope these tips help you. Again, thanks Douglas McCullough, and to all the viewers. And as I said before, I may not be able to answer every question, or I may not be able to do every video, but if you have a video in mind you'd like for us to do, if you have a topic you'd like for us to discuss, and like I said, I'm not a know-it-all, I don't have all the information, but I do enjoy this channel, and I do enjoy hearing from you, so leave your comments below. We enjoy hearing from every one of you. May God bless you. Wish you the very best. The Kentucky Patriot, signing off.